Guys, I'm back with my Traxxas Revo, and I put the hobbyking HK401B Gyro on my E-Revo Brushless. I tried to put this up closer to the front underneath this bracket, but unfortunately with the way the suspension moves, it would have hit it. It interfered with the these wishbone upper control arms here. The upper suspension arms. So I double stick taped it to this steering servo, and it seems to work pretty well. I did one test run with it on there. So what I wanted to show you also is some more functions in your radio to how to set this up. So basically, let me get the right size wrench here and I can show you the receiver setup. It's pretty straightforward. The gyro has a connector on it for the steering servo that it plugs into, and then that extension plugs into your receiver into channel 1. So I've got my Futaba receiver here, and I've got the gyro plugged into 1, the ESC plugged into 2, and the gyro reference yellow plug plugged into channel 3. So channel 3 on your radio transmitter is going to be all of the adjustments, as well as some very small adjustments on the gyro itself. For instance, my steering was reversed. The gyro, meaning that when I would turn, it wouldn't counter steer for me. It would steer into the turn, causing it to spin even worse. So I simply change that to reverse. Click that little button up to reverse. Turn my limit all the way up so that you get full travel. That's the limit that this will allow your steering servos to travel. Oh, and another note, the E-Revo has dual steering servos. So I did not have a Y connector, so I soldered my own together. I simply took some ends and just soldered in a bunch of male and female connectors together to form a Y to go into one. So I have one plug going into my steering section of the receiver here. So if you have dual steering, you will need a Y connector to connect your gyro into your receiver. The receiver only has one input. This particular one has one input. This Futaba, the Traxxas receivers have more than one input for the steering. So you need a Y for that. So I also found on my previous video that I couldn't find any further adjustments than adjusting the sub trim for channel 3. However, if you go through your menu functions, you'll see that this radio has simply, if you can see that, it just says channel 3. So what you do is you take channel 3, and in this case, on the negative side of the numbers seem to be the rate mode adjustment, not headlock. So I simply took that down to negative 6%. And then when you have that narrowed down to within, maybe 6 or 7%, this one's negative 6%, then you can go to your sub trim, your channel 3 sub trim, and you can make very small adjustments with the sub trim. Your major adjustments are going to be on channel 3, and then your minor adjustments are going to be to fine tune it as your sub trim. So I finally figured that out after I did the first one on my Rustler, and then the second one here on my E-Revo. So basically you want to mount that mount the gyro on a flat surface. You want it completely perpendicular to the axis. I believe, I'm not sure, I never tried to mount it sideways or tipped upward, but I'm pretty sure it needs to be on a flat level surface, pointed definitely perpendicular to the axis. If the axle is going straight across, you want this facing straight up and down, the way that it's shown right here. And for my E-Revo, I've got my bash body, which is all torn up and cracked and broken apart. And then I've got my clean body, which I purchased recently after a couple years of beating on the bash body. It's pretty tore up. So this is my E-Revo Brushless Mamba Monster with the gyro hooked up, and I'll show you how that works real quick. Quick demonstration. Radio's on. Can turn that thing on. It flashes to indicate that the gyro is initializing, and then the light on the gyro should go off. The light going off indicates that it is in rate mode and is not in headlock mode. And I found that making the adjustments on the radio down into the negative section, put it in rate mode, and anything above positive, maybe 30 to 40%, puts it in headlock mode where your wheels will lock in one position, which you don't want. So I have this set up so that as you turn, or you can still turn full lock to lock. I've got that set up. Straightens itself out, no problem. And then when you start to get sideways there, it will correct itself. Those front wheels will turn and compensate for you. Now if I turn this way up, you can see even on 22% how fast those wheels turn. That's gonna act against you. That's gonna make you kind of get all squirrely whether you tried to or not. So I put that way down on 6%. Seems to be a sweet spot. And then your sub trim in there. If I scroll through the menu, there's my sub trim over to third channel sub trim. I still have it on negative 100%, as I talked about in my Rustler video on how to install a gyro in your RC car. So if I take this to 50%, it's still in rate mode. I get very little movement. That's the sub trim. Now if I go back to channel 3's adjustment, I could probably turn it up higher than 6%. Let's see, 10%. Yeah, see? Okay, so your channel 3 is your major adjustment. Let's go up to 25%. There you go, that's a lot, that's too much. And then your sub trim is your fine adjustment. So I could probably leave that on 50% sub trim, 10%, maybe a little bit more. I haven't driven it yet like this, I'm just trying it. That should be enough right there. So again, you want to mount your gyro on double stick tape or even Velcro or something anti-vibration. You don't want it mounted to a hard, rigid surface where it can vibrate and it can affect the movement of your gyro. I have this one there's really no good spot to put it on this chassis. So I also have the wires kind of snugged down and zip tied so that it won't actually fall off of there. There might be a better spot for it. I'll kind of play around with it and see if I can come up with a better spot. But as for now, I'll try this tomorrow. It's late tonight, it's dark out. I'm not going to be able to go try this right now in the dark. But again, check out my other video, how to install a gyro on your RC car and how to set up your radio. Any questions you can leave in the comments or shoot me an email. Appreciate it, guys. Take it easy.